Welcome back, my dear sweet friends. This is the channel Frugal Money Saver. My husband Paul and I welcome you. We are an early retirement, debt and mortgage-free couple, and our videos basically just show you how to have a full, abundant life spending less money. Today we're going to talk about food waste, and we talk about that a lot on this channel. But today I want to take it a step further. I'm also going to be adding a challenge to this zero food waste video. So before we get into it, if you are new here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button and become part of our Frugal family. We would love to have you. And for those of you who have been here, well, you know we love you. Let's talk about this. Food waste right now is something none of us can afford to do. Prices in the supermarket are out of control. I'm going to continue telling you to stock up on items that are at a low price that you and your family will eat. Please continue to do that. We need to have a surplus of food in the house. Now, I am not talking hoarding food. That's not who we are, but we need to be prepared. We don't ever know what's coming down the pike. So when those loss leaders go on sale, those low-priced items at your food store, make sure you get them and stock up. 20 to 50% of the food we bring into our homes is wasted or thrown out. 20 to 50%. That is a tremendous amount of food. The majority of that are produce and dairy, which makes sense because they tend to go bad quickest if we don't use them up first. The three ways that we waste the most food in our homes is number one, food spoilage. Food basically going bad before we can use it. You don't eat spoiled food. The second way we waste food is we misjudge how much food we actually need in the house, and it goes bad. We buy too much, basically. We're buying too much and we're unable to use it in the time that it does go bad. And the last one, cooking or serving too much. So basically it's food spoiling because we're not using it. It's bringing too much food in the house and it's spoiling. And cooking or serving too much, people aren't eating it, it's spoiling and we're throwing it away. These are some eye-opening little facts here. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to stop wasting food like I tell you all the time and get down to being creative. What can we do with what we have? These little bits and pieces in our refrigerator that can create amazing meals. I am going to show you 3 different ways to use up just simple ingredients today that you probably have in your refrigerator, freezer, wherever. And I'm going to give you the challenge at the end of this video, so stay tuned. First thing I want to do is get into the kitchen and show you what we're going to be working with today. So I'm going to turn the camera around, come into the kitchen with us. Let's see what little scraps of food we have that we are going to make into some yummy meals today. Peppers were on the clearance rack at Stop and Shop, and they were 99 cents a pound, so these 4 peppers came to $2.41. They're absolutely beautiful orange peppers. So we're gonna actually freeze some. We're gonna make a dish out of the rest. I've got a ball of frozen pizza dough that's been in the freezer that we need to use. I've got a kind of beat up tomato, but it'll still be perfect. I've got a half of a German Stollen that has been in the freezer since Christmas that needs to be used. Some scraps of cheese and very little heavy cream. So this is what we have. Let's see what we're going to come up with today on our zero food waste video. We have our 2 orange peppers. What I'm going to do is show you my grandmother's recipe for roasted peppers. I don't know if I've ever done this on the channel. If I have, it's been a while ago. We're going to take these peppers and we are going to broil them, keeping an eye on them, turning them frequently until the outsides get nice and charred. And then we're going to put them in some olive oil with a little salt and pepper. And oh my goodness, if you have ever had real roasted Italian peppers. There's no comparison with the ones that come in a jar. These are so simple, economical, and the taste is beyond compare. So the first thing I'm going to do is place these in the oven on the second shelf away from my broiler, and we're going to start broiling them. See how these peppers are charring beautifully. So now we're going to just use tongs, and we are going to turn them. And now we're going to broil this side. That side took about 4 minutes. You've got to keep your eye on it. And now we'll put them in to char this side. These were in for 5 minutes, but you have to keep an eye. It could be 4, could be 3. Just don't put it too close to the broiler. So now I'm going to turn them again so we can get the sides. These are not burning by any means. They're just charring the skin on the outside. So now they're getting a little softer. I'm going to put it in for 3 minutes and see how it looks. This was 3 minutes. As they cook, they're going to get softer and cook a little faster. You want to try not to poke holes in them too if you can when you're turning them. So this is our last side, and we're going to do this one for 3 minutes. The last 3 minutes did beautifully. We're going to put them in a bowl. What you're going to do is you're just going to cover them. They have to cool before we peel them. So we're going to set them aside for like 15 minutes just to cool and let the skin soften. These sat for 15 minutes and you can see how they collapsed. Now what we're going to do is put a slit in each one. Just make an opening. I'm going to take my tongs because they're still kind of hot. Give them a little squeeze. We want that juice. That juice has so much flavor. And then we're going to put them on here. And we're just going to let these cool a little bit more because you can see they're still smoking. And we're going to have to handle them to peel them. And we'll seed these and we'll pull the skin off as soon as it's cool enough to handle. And if seeds get in, just strain it and put it back into your bowl. These are cool enough to handle. So now what you're going to do is just clean them up, take the seeds out, and peel the skin off. The skin will come right off, as you can see I'm doing. Please, I know the seeds might be frustrating for you. Rinse your hands, don't rinse the peppers. If you rinse the peppers, you're going to lose all this amazing flavor. So when they get like this, run them under water, dry them, and go back to work. The skin peeled off beautifully, and you are left with some soft, delicious roasted peppers. Now what we're going to do is just cut them into strips and put them back into the bowl that has the juice in it. You can see they're just so soft and flavorful. We have roasted these to perfection. So I'm just going to cut these up and then I'll show you what we're going to do. Our peppers are peeled and de-seeded. I am going to take some really good extra virgin olive oil. I am going to start with 2 tablespoons because the olive oil is going to add so much flavor to this dish as well. Then I take 1 clove of garlic. Remember, you don't even have to peel your garlic if you're using a garlic press. Little known tip that I just found out in my older years. I always tried to peel them and then press them. And then it comes right out. There's no problem trying to dig it out of here. And then I use probably about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. You mix this together. If you'd like to spice it up, add a little hot pepper if you'd like. But this is all it needs, honestly. I'm going to cover this and I'm going to refrigerate it now. Let the flavors come together before you eat it. At least let it sit overnight in the refrigerator. What do you do with it? You can make a sandwich with it. Put it on top of a pizza. Add it to scrambled eggs. Lay them on top of a tossed salad. Take this, mix it with pasta. Delicious, delicious. So many ways you can use these. No chemicals, no additives. You've done it yourself. So I'm going to cover this, put this in the refrigerator, and truly, we wish you bon appetito.
These peppers here are going to be sliced and then frozen for future use. So we're going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to cut it in half, and then I'm going to pop out the core. So I'm just going to make a couple cuts, break it right off. And there's the core. Same with this one. Of course, these were washed. I'm going to try to get rid of some of those seeds. That's it. Now we're going to slice them up into strips. So what I did was I put all the little pieces on this cookie sheet with a baking mat, or you could use a non-stick parchment paper or something like that. And the reason why we're spacing them out like this when we freeze them is so it's not one big block of peppers. This way you can open the bag, reach in, grab 5 or 6 if you're making a small personal pizza. It's a great way to prep food. It's going to stay fresh until you're ready to use it.
Those roasted peppers you're going to see again in a minute, incorporated into one of the foods we're making. They are so good. They are so economical when peppers go on sale. Now, peppers can be pricey, but if you can find them for 99 cents or $1.50 a pound, this is one way to use them. And like I said while I was prepping, there are so many ways to use them. They are so flavorful, and they pack a punch of flavor into whatever you're making. Give them a try. And the other 2 peppers, we froze them right away. This way, no waste. And when we need some, reach in, grab a handful, because we froze them individually and popped them into a Ziploc bag. Win-win. Now, let's get to using up that little ball of dough. Let's get back in the kitchen. Our next recipe, we're taking the ball of dough that was frozen, and I will link this recipe down below in the comments section. It is a dough you can make ahead and freeze. So we always keep some in the freezer. So I just pulled it out. It defrosted. It rose. We have the cheeses. We have a quarter mozzarella, some Colby Jack. We have the 1 tomato that has maybe seen better days. And then look, when I was getting something out, I found like this onion piece. So we're going to use that too. You know what we're making? Bet you think we're making pizza. We're not. We're going to make a Stromboli. So we have our dough. I'm just going to stretch this out. You see what a beautiful dough it is to work with. And then I'll come back and show you what to do. I took 1 tablespoon of butter and I melted it. Now I am going to take the quarter of the onion that we found, almost missed it. So I'm going to let this cook for just a few minutes. And then I'm going to add a clove of garlic to it. These cook down just for a few minutes. Now I'm going to add a clove of garlic. Remember to cook this quick, just a few seconds. This is going to be the base of our Stromboli. Stromboli is basically an Italian rolled sandwich, a bunch of ingredients, and you roll them up and then you slice them into rounds. So this is going to be a great base. We're using up what we have. I'm going to now take our tomato and I'm going to slice this up. Let's lay our tomato all over the top of this onion and garlic base. We grated the cheese. And now we're going to spread this on top. Can you see where we're going with this? I'm leaving, if you notice, the edges with nothing on them really, because we want to be able to make sure this seals and all this yummy goodness doesn't come cascading out. Remember our yummy roasted peppers? We're going to lay a couple of these on top. And you can see that some of the olive oil right here, because you keep it in the refrigerator, solidified. But that is going to melt and give this Stromboli just an amazing taste. Okay, I grabbed the Parmesan and we're going to put a little of that on top too. Can you imagine just little bits and pieces of what we have in our refrigerator becomes a gourmet meal, and I encourage you to do this. Look through your refrigerator. Please don't let that food go bad. Don't let it go to waste. Use it up. So now we're going to start rolling. We're going to pinch as we go too. We're going to take this, pinch it under like this under like this. Bake it right on a piece of parchment paper or a baking mat. I took the pan that we sauteed the onions in, and And I just took a little bit of butter, and now I'm just going to brush it right on top because you still have some of that remnant of the onion. So it's going to flavor the butter a little bit. Now I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of Parmesan cheese. I'm going to bake this in a 375 oven for 25 minutes, and then we'll check it. This cooked for 25 minutes. Now we're going to slice into it. Oh my goodness. Look at this. Look at that ooey gooey cheesy goodness. Now what you can do is slice this up, dip it in marinara sauce. Delicious. Let it cool before you cut it completely though, because the insides are super hot and everything's going to melt out. So you want to let it cool just a little bit. Look at how perfect this turned out. What a perfect frugal meal using up what you have. That was a total win. The flavors in that Stromboli. Please know you can use any kind of cooked meat. Do not put raw meat in there. It won't cook in time. Cooked leftover meat, cheeses, veggies. Make it Mexican. Put some salsa, some ground meat, a little bit of cheese. You could use pepperoni, cheeses, chicken, broccoli. The variations are limitless. They are so versatile. And the good thing about that dough recipe is it makes 4 balls of dough. And we use 1 that night and we put the other 3 in the freezer. And I will link that recipe down below. Great recipe. For our final zero food waste recipe, this one is coming out of my vintage 1944 cookbook. This was so decadent. And then Paul took it up even higher at the end of the video, you'll see. And this was, again, using up little bits and pieces of what we had. If I can encourage you with one thing, use it up before it goes bad. So here we go, one more time in the kitchen. We have a half of stolon that has been in the freezer and it needs to be used up. Enough already, right? It's getting dried out. What Paul is doing is he's just taking this stolon and making them in, how big are those slices, would you say?
Oh, 1/4 inch.
There you go. And we are going to make, from our 1944 cookbook, a brown sugar bread pudding. I've never made this. I know you all say how much you love to see these old frugal recipes and what a great way to use up this older bread. So let's get right to this recipe. Our bread pudding recipe is coming out of the Alice Bradley menu cookbook circa 1944. I did a whole video on this cookbook the other day. I will link it down below in the comments section. What a great book. Here's the recipe we're going to be making. Bread pudding with brown sugar. Looks delicious. They're saying to use regular bread. We're going to use the stolon. I think it's going to be amazing. If you'd like a copy of this recipe, take a screenshot of it right now. So I'm taking 1 tablespoon of melted butter. And I'm just going to put that all in the bottom of this pan. Spread it around. Have to get every last drop, you know me. Now it says to take a cup of brown sugar. You know Emmy's not putting in a cup. She's putting in a 1/2 cup. This is a sweet bread. I think this is even going to be super sweet. And the recipe only calls for 4 pieces of bread. So, wow, that's a lot of sugar, I thought. So we're going to just do a 1/2 cup. Now it says to butter the bread. I am not seeing a need for buttering the bread. I am just going to lay it in like this. So we got them in. Here we have 2 cups of milk. I'm going to break an egg in here. It says 1 to 2 egg, but I'm just going to use 1. And I'm just going to beat that egg right in my mixing bowl. How easy is this? And then it says to add 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. So we're just going to put a drop in there as well. Mix that all together. Now we're going to just pour it over the bread. Now it says to let it sit for 30 minutes. So this sat for 30 minutes, and I guess the bread has been soaking up all that delicious flavor. We're going to put it in a 350-degree oven for 50 minutes, it says. But I will probably check it before that just to see what's going on in there. So here it goes. I just took this out of the oven. It cooked for 40 minutes and I was right on target. It is definitely done. You can hear it bubbling. It does say to stick it under the broiler, but I think honestly I am going to skip that part because the top is dry and I don't want to ruin my dish by sticking it under the broiler either. So I think we're going to leave it just as is, 40 minutes. It looks perfect. This is cooled slightly and we are going to dish this up. This looks so good. Look at all that syrup. Make sure you take that out and spoon it over the bread before you serve it. So Paul is going to be a good sport. Take a bite for us.
Okay, here goes. That's delicious. That's really good. What a wonderful dessert. Don't add all that sugar. Definitely cut back on the sugar.
So you think the half a cup was a good amount?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Half a cup is great. The pudding tastes delicious.
So it's a win.
It's definitely.
We had a little ganache left from my mother-in-law's cake the other day. So Paul put it on the bread pudding. Decadent. I didn't try it like this. Our son is here and I'm going to give him a slice now. And remember that little bit of cream I said we have? Well, he's going to get a dollop of whipped cream on his bread pudding as well. I don't even know what to say about our stolen bread pudding. You can use any type of bread. This was just something I had that I had to use up. It was getting dry. I didn't want it to get freezer burned. It was magnificent. The flavors of the raisins and the marzipan in the middle of the bread, it was company worthy. Again, a little ingenuity, a little creativity, and bam, look what you come up with. Now, let's get to the challenge. If you'd like to participate in this, what I would like you to do is for the next, I don't know, let's say 2 weeks, and we're gonna do it with you. Let's keep track of how much food we actually waste. And I think this is gonna be eye-opening. So in other words, let's say we have a half a tomato in the refrigerator and it went moldy. You don't eat that. That needs to be discarded. Write down half a tomato and what do you think that tomato cost you? Let's say you paid 50 cents for that tomato. Well, a half a tomato would be 25 cents. And I want you to keep track how much food we're actually wasting and what the dollar amount is within those 2 weeks. Now, this is not to judge anyone. You're not gonna write in and tell us how much you threw out. I'm not interested in anybody's business. This is for you. This is so you are aware of how much money or how much food you are throwing out. You may be one of these ones that come away and say, yeah, I threw away some broccoli stems and a quarter of a lemon, you know, and I'll be like, woohoo! This again is just to encourage us and to let us know, what are we wasting? How much food are we wasting? So that is our challenge. Now the question of today is, what item do you consistently see yourself not using before it's time and you need to toss it? I would have to say ours would be produce, honestly. That's why we're getting into the habit as soon as we bring it into the house, we cut it up and use it. But we have had trouble with cucumbers and tomatoes. So that's why I'm trying to be really diligent. Now, whatever this item is, or these items are, is there a way that you could use them right away so they don't go bad and you have to toss them? Share that as well. So that's our question of the day. We thank you for being here with us. We thank you for spending this time with us. We appreciate you so much. If you would be so kind, please give this a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave us that comment. Remember, we love you. Remember to stay safe. Remember to stay well. And above all, we wish you blessings. Until our next video.